have questions. Whoever you guys do PDF creation, need to export PDFs to some format. Okay, whoever you guys use TCPDF? Nobody. Whoever you guys use WKHTML to PDF? I do. Oh, okay. That's not the one I want. This is the one I want. Okay. This is WKHTML to PDF. It's pretty much exactly what it says. WebKit. It's a WebKit library that literally takes HTML and converts it to PDF. What do we do every day? We write HTML every day. This is very, very nice. Anybody who's used TCPDF before would know the syntax is really horrible. However, what I did realize is TCPDF is a lot faster. So if you need to do something very, very quick, this is really nice, especially doing just screen grabs of your website. You can do an entire screen grab and say, hey, here, and just export them to PDF very quickly, as you can see there. Yes?
So what's the advantage over using something like Phantom.js to create PDFs?
I've never used Phantom.js. That's probably, and you don't need Node installed on your server.
Phantom.js is just like the default of the whole thing. It's a headless browser, so it loads it in and just bits.
Oh, okay.
Does it know about page breaks and footers?
Everything.
Does it?
It's a browser.
Yeah.
But browsers don't have to worry about pages, right? On PDF.
Oh, you can do page breaks. There is some CSS styling for that, which is actually created exactly for the print view of browsers. I think there's a base that as well, so you can do that. Another thing that is also quite nice is it also runs JavaScript. So if you have JavaScript manipulating the DOM, you can tell it, listen, just wait 300 milliseconds so the JavaScript can execute, and then print the page. So yeah, it's quite nice. But what's even nicer, for some reason on my notifications, is Mike Hartel here to L's PHP WKHTML to PDF wrapper. So if you guys are going to decide to use that, this is a very, very nice tool, as this is the syntax. You create a new PDF, and you can already specify the HTML and save as. So you can either save it or you can push it to the browser. And you can instantiate it like this. You can add different pages. You can do from local files. You can do the actual HTML, which is very nice in Laravel because you just say view make in the add page, and you get that view back. And you can add URLs, cover pages, all of that, and then send. That allows the person to actually download the file. So that's a cool tool. I did ask, I am allowed to punt my own tools. So this is a tool that I wrote. It's called Migrations Generator. Now, I don't know how many of you have worked on legacy code or trying to move legacy code to Laravel. The thing that I had a problem with is I really, really love migrations. And I really wanted to get our entire database into migrations so that we can start organizing our database and only using migrations to generate the database. But a very big database. So to be able to transfer that to migrations, I'm probably going to make more errors than solutions. So I wrote this script, which can get our page, which you simply say migrate generate, and it takes the database that you're connected to, and it looks at all the tables and pushes that to migrations. So a lot of people actually use this to create the databases in their tools that they love creating it in. For example, PHP admin, and then literally just dumping it to migrations. So also a nice tool. Another one that's not so nice is my extended array. which you guys can also check out. It's pretty much the Laravel, the Laravel collection taken, or the ideas taken from it and put into an array. So it has an array inside, which you create, and then you can just get results again back from it, which has helped in some cases and made things more difficult in other cases. It needs a rewrite, but it is used by quite a few people, so I'm sure of that. Next tool. I'm going too fast. Next one. Have you guys ever used to fetch emails from an email, pop emails from a server? Yes. Was that difficult? Yes. That was difficult. Here's a little tool called Fetch. It's an IMAP wrapper as well, so it uses the underlying PHP IMAP functions. And I've used it, and it is great. It's very simple to use. You've set up the server, set up the authentication for the messages, and you go through the messages to get every email. It's really that simple, and the nice thing is, as everybody knows, emails have no standard. So some emails are in this format, other emails are in that format, and for the most part, most of the emails this thing decodes to a single format, which you can use. So very cool. Okay, how much time do I have? I don't even know. 15 minutes. 15 minutes. I think I've done about 4. Okay, error reporting. It's always good to know exactly what's going on in your website. There's a few external tools that you can use. One of them, which I was recommended, was Bugsnag. I'm personally not a fan of using somebody else's servers to do my work, so I like doing my work myself. And this is a very, very nice Laravel package. I don't know if it works on Laravel 5. I haven't tested it yet. But Unlutro's Laravel 4 smart errors, which pretty much sends you an email every time an error occurs. That way you can, and I've taken those emails and I modified them to send me the entire SQL stack, so that I know exactly which SQL code ran, and to send me all the post data and everything of the user that the user sent to the server. This is a simple example where it actually shows you it was a get method, the referrer was none, there's the client IP, there's the URL, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that's also, yes?
Have you looked at Sentry?
Sentry.
You can deploy your own server Sentry. You don't want it on somebody else's infrastructure.
No.
You have everything there. And then it will mail you to, and it can tell you if it's regressions, and you can mark stuff as fixed, and it will say you're listening it's not, and it will throttle it. The thing with, like my experience with email notifications, things break, you're flooded.
Yes.
And you might DOS yourself from email from something else, and Sentry rolls up those things and says, listen, you received this many errors in the last 10 minutes. You only get one notification.
Sentry.
Yeah. Get.sentry.com, and then they link to the meetup. And they've got language reporters for everything.
Sentry.com. Okay.
The client's called Raven. PHP Raven, JavaScript Raven, Ruby Raven, anything Raven.
Okay. So here's also apparently a very nice tool. I'm assuming this. Yeah, because as he said, I literally had an infinite loop, which I created in my in Bash, to just run a whole bunch of tasks. The problem was, as soon as the tasks were finished, every time that loop ran, it got an error because it didn't receive an array or something. And Bash, just fighting this thing every single time it can, I got so many emails that about an hour and a half after I stopped the script, I still received emails. So, and nobody else in the company received emails for that hour and a half as well. So that was fun. Okay. See, everybody knows something that, yeah, somebody else doesn't. Okay, who of you have not used Laravel IDE helper? Okay, this is a must-have. Pretty much what it does is it creates this little file, IDE helper, which looks at every single function, especially those facades, which you can never get to when you try to figure out where this function is being called from. And this looks at your specific project and at all the facades that is in your project. So it's not just, you know, oh, here's all the helpers. It looks at the individual projects, and it allows your IDE to actually auto-complete. So, for example, debug bar is a facade, but now because it's added to my IDE helper, it actually knows all the functions in here, as well as for app. If I go app, yeah, you guys get the idea. Then your IDE actually knows what functions are for that, because with the Laravel facades, its IDEs seem to not be able to figure out what's going on. Very, very cool tool. Another very cool tool, also by Barry VDH. He's a very cool guy. Follow him on Twitter, if you guys don't already. Is his Laravel debug bar built on top of PHP debug bar, but that just integrates very nicely Laravel. Actually quickly spun up a Laravel 5 instance. And you can send messages, so instead of var dumping everything to your page, you can actually var dump stuff into this messages thing here and see, oh, okay, so that's what's going on, whatnot. Timeline. I put up, I actually have to refresh this, because, yeah, so you can quickly see how long it takes the application to run. I put in a debug bar start measure test, this is a test, and then stop measure, and then sleep for 3 seconds. If I run it again, I can actually see which functions are taking a long time to load. And it says, oh, okay, this is a test. It's taking up most of the application time. So it's also very easy if you're trying to debug, especially which functions take very long. Exceptions shows you what exceptions are. You run even exceptions that have been caught, because as you see, the page did load, but these exceptions were called. I'll throw it. It shows you which views were used, the root, all the queries that ran for your SQL queries. I've never checked out this one before. And request. So it shows you all your cookies and your session. So these are really Barry VDH, IDE helper, and debug bar. Very, very cool tools. Zen also actually have this new thing that they put out for Laravel, but you have to have the Zen server running. If you do use the Zen server, you can actually get a similar bar, but that's run on the server and not on a PHP level. So, for open source, okay, how much time? I think I'm almost done. For open source tools, if you really want just a general CI, or that actually gives you insight into your code, you don't have to write any tests. That's the good news here. Some people might kill me afterwards for saying that. But it tells you actually stuff about your code. For example, this function that I have here is rate critical. If we go take a look why, it says complexity. It's a very, very complex function. It has 25 conditions, which can take 1,217 different paths. I did not know that before I ran this. So now you can take a look at this code again and see, okay, maybe I can change that. I tried, I can't. It's a complex function. Live with it. It shows you the size, how many lines of code it is, and yeah, so it actually gives you insight into the code. I'm assuming you can also put in stuff like checking for coding styles and all of that. So it's almost like PHP CI, but if you're doing open source code, you don't have to actually host it yourself. So very, very nice tool, and yeah, I quite like it. Quick jump through stuff. Rocketeer. a very nice deployment script if you are using PHP. I'm actually starting to dislike it due to certain features which aren't there. For example, changing symlinks. It doesn't do autonomous change of symlinks. How many of you actually understand what I just said? Okay. The nice thing that you can do is if you deploy a new application, a lot of the times when you write files up, PHP will start loading halfway because you're on a slow FTP server and that file's only halfway and it tries to read that file and it can't read the file because it's not finished uploading. Same with your deploys. If you do a deploy and it actually pulls everything down, you might break the site while you're deploying. So you usually deploy into a new folder and then you swap symlinks around. And the symlink is almost like a shortcut, but it's a Linux or a Unix shortcut, which actually you can pass through. So you tell Apache that the website is on the other side of the symlink. And Apache will open the symlink, see it points to a folder, and use the code on that side of the folder. The nice thing as well is if you just deployed and you had a person opening the website a millisecond before they deploy, they would use the old code, and they would continue to use the old code until Apache is finished rendering the website. So all requests for that person will actually use the old code, which could be a problem if a new class doesn't work with an old class, and that also breaks. And then all the new people would go to the new code, and yeah, all your customers are happy. This does not do autonomous changing of symlinks, which means for a second, actually, your website is down. Probably somebody can submit a pull request for that, but that's the problem I have with this. But if you have a small project, it's very nice. Okay, I think I'm definitely out of time, but there's a lot of cool tools. One place to actually go look for really nice tools is Packalist. It actually shows you the most popular packages, shows you the latest packages, and you can actually go look through all of these and see which ones you like and which ones you don't. Hope that was semi-insightful. That was really jumping through quite a few. I will give them a list of all the stuff that I mentioned and they can put it on the meetup, or I'll just post a comment on the meetup and you guys can get it there. Any questions? Perfect. I love someone having questions because they usually don't have answers. Mr. Mac guy, you want the Mac thing to be at?
Yeah.
Yeah, my CEO.
Greetings, everyone. Give me a second to do the setup thing. Okay. So my little quick talk. Let me put my timer on. I'm not pro. There we go.
Wait, are you using an Android phone with your Apple PC?
Yeah, I am. Because the company buys these for me and not Right. I'm just going to quickly talk about a little bit of work I've been doing with my JavaScript. It's not like I'm going to show you a library you can download or a anything specific. It's just general, and it's also using Angular API. Laravel APIs, which is why it fits into the Laravel user group. So my quick little bit of philosophical debate before I talk about this is that I often flip-flop between, okay, do I use something someone else has written, because you can find a lot of that, or do you write your own thing? And I go back and forth. I use something someone else has written, I hit my head against it because it can't be forced into whatever I want to do, then I write my own, then I hate myself because it doesn't extend itself very far. Like you write what you need, and all those extra features just never get written. The good side of using other people's stuff is obviously you can leverage their experience. The bad side is that you're not in total control the way you can be when you just write down what you want to do. You write that script and it gets done. But then you're also limited to only the stuff that you know. So you'll never learn, really, unless you're a super creative genius, you'll never learn much more if you just stick to only writing your own stuff. You get those kinds of developers that just plug away at the same old way of doing things. They don't really, extend themselves. So, with that out of the way, this is stuff that I've just been writing because I'm sick of not having the right solution available to me. So here we go. To begin with, we have a Laravel application. So we get these controllers, something like a product controller. The index page spits out products. Brilliant. You throw over to the output of the API and it comes through as JSON, and you're like, awesome, things are happening here. You get to your JavaScript, you make that AJAX call, and you get everything back as JSON, and for the most part, it's pretty good. I've been working that way happily, no problems there, except, the duplication of code is an issue, because when you have to start dealing with the data, you're writing like all this code to deal with the data. It's a little bit repetitive, and what I've always been lacking is like real object-oriented way of working with it. So you've got Eloquent for dealing with the server-side data, and I've found no real good alternative for working with the JavaScript data. Could be completely wrong and just missing the one library that does what I want. Most of what I found is, here's an ORM that will work with MySQL when using Node, or here's something that works with Firebase. And it's like, well, I don't do either of those things. Just give me the insight on how I should work with this data in JavaScript. So I've been finally learning to put together sort of classes in JavaScript, which is all this prototype stuff, which, if you're coming from the PHP world, makes no sense. Now, it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm like plugging away at it and using it. So what I've got here is a class in big inverted air quotes, because there's actually no such thing as a JavaScript class until we get to ES6. Here's our product, and it's inheriting from our base model, which is pretty neat. Let's go take a look at that. Model.js is something I've just been putting together. It's got a bunch of functions like hydrate, pretty neat. What that does is it takes the data you give it and it populates all of the properties. It's got some stuff to do with the routing, so that you can tell it sort of which URL relates on your API to your JavaScript. Fair enough. A finder method, so that you can quickly go grab it. If you're paying close attention, you can see things are not really that flexible, because I've just kind of like bashed in the way that I work. And what you often find with packages is that they're working around every permutation of server that's possibly available, which is often not your server even. So that can happen too. Right, so where does that take me? I've got my API, it's feeding all this JSON out. I've got my JavaScript side that's consuming all of this. What do I need to do? What I need to do is go to my controller on the JavaScript side and look at what happens when I pull the data in. I'm pulling in products here and attaching it to this Angular scope, which, if you know Angular, is an important feature. But if you don't know Angular, it's a variable. There it is. So that's pulling through. So I'm now in the presentation mode. I need to get out of it. Window view. Yeah, view, presentation, exit presentation mode. Okay, how are we for size? Yeah, it's pretty tiny, but we'll get there. So I'm going to open model collection, which is my what I've done in this case, which is contrary to what Eloquent does, is I've completely split what is my collections on the server and what are my singular items on the server. Eloquent wants you to say, here's a single product, then call fetch, and then it returns your collection, which I found slightly because there's behavior that you might want to do with collections that is different to what you want to do with individual elements. So I've done that on the JavaScript side. That we're going to say is a given. So I'm going to go over to the hydrate, and I'm going to see what's happening over here, and I'm going to run my JavaScript debugging, which is another freebie. If you haven't got PHP Storm and started doing this, I suggest you give this a quick whirl, because it links your debugging in Chrome to your PHP Storm. So I'm just going to pause here for a second and show you what's going on. Here's my JSON object that's come through from the magical server in the cloud, which also happens to be this laptop in front of me. What I'm going to do here is push to the collection object a new instance of the $sign model. This $sign model is defined as the class, in air quotes, category. Can I call them classes? I mean, I don't know what they're called. Types, the type category. So pushing in a new version of that, and it does this a number of times for each type of item that is pulling off of the server. And what we get, I'm just going to have to find a quick way to breakpoint this, or you know what, I can open it here too. When we look at the scope of things, let's open that and look at, we'll go out a little bit. If we look at the products, there are 3 individual products of product type, which makes me very happy, because in JavaScript, I've always just been like, oh, well, here's JSON. Okay, move it around. Now, how do I actually manipulate this data? Oh, well, make a bunch of functions and just list them throughout your code. Doesn't matter where. Just throw them in the root scope or in global functions or whatever. And you always end up disorganized. So the way that I'm setting up things now with this kind of way of thinking, which is what I'm promoting mostly as a way of approaching JavaScript rather than saying that this is the way to do it. If I go to the product, I can attach very specific methods that help with the behavior of the product on the page. If I go to the category, I've actually begun to do that in practice. Here, I've attached a method called listing URL, which gives me a direct URL to what would be considered the category page for this type of product category. That should be in some sort of routing script. This is an example. The way that I've used this on the view side is attach that method directly in here. So let's just find my index and look at the way I've moved through the categories. Here I've got the object, there I've got the behavior coming through. About a few weeks ago, what I would have done is gone like really in some sort of nasty global code, gone to scope in like category listing URL, and written a new function to deal with this sort of outside of the behavior of the category itself. So it's just what I'm trying to do here is encapsulate some behavior in the correct place. This has some benefits, for example, and some of this gets very Angular specific, so if you don't use it, don't worry about it. When I'm doing dirty checks, check it on the object. The product object is dirty. And I've written a method just to check the original versus the new version. When I write the cancel button, there's a method on that object called revert that just resets it to its original state. And let's see that in practice. I click edit. What the edit button does is sets edit to true on the object so that it knows that it's now editing. And I go here and I'm like, yo, ASDF, because that's exactly what we want to update. Do a bunch of stuff, click save. But of course, it does the whole Ajaxy post thing. But, oh, yeah, the interesting part is in the code. I've got my save method, and on the product, I run the save, and it passes back that promise that says either there's going to be a success or an error. Very neat. Following on from that, on the collection, I can check if the collection is dirty. So once I begin editing stuff here, this is a lame example, but maybe it's helpful. You have unsaved changes, which can be user interface, or you do that irritating pop-up that says, "Are you sure you want to leave the page? You haven't saved all this stuff." I'm like, yes, I want to leave the page. There's that. Trying to think of other quick nuggets. But
If you revert back to what it was, then does the message disappear?
Boot.
No, I mean, if you write edit type A and then delete the A.
Well, I just save whatever. Yeah, it works. What else have I got? I mean, yeah, you know, you've got delete things that push. Oh, okay, delete's cool because on my collection, and this is stuff I was doing last night, and realizing, hey, life is good. Because I can write these things quickly to show you today, and they all seem to be working. On the collection, there's a remove method. You just say, hey, remove this item from myself, and then it does that whole array slice thing. Oh, what I didn't show about the collection, just quickly, is that the collection itself is inherited from the array type in JavaScript. So what you're dealing with is an array. But you can, of course, then start extending and adding on your own methods, which I'm doing here. Yeah, I'm almost done for time. I'll just give you one last nugget. Some state handling here for loading, success, and error. You can write a whole bunch. I've only got one, which is loading, but theoretically you could have like error, success states. Upon on the collection is loading, so I can check if it's loading. Then in the view, I can say, show me the loading sign while it's still loading. And I've got, hold on, probably got to go slow this down a little bit. Sleep, sleep. Okay. Show the loading sign while it's loading. Those little things that I repetitively do, I'm cleaning them up, you know, bringing myself forward into like the age of object-oriented programming. So I hope you gained anything from that.
What's the GitHub URL?
It is Stephen Frank.
Oh, nice.
Angular models example. Because it is only an example. It's not. I find myself like to write something packaged up so that other people can use it is like immensely difficult. I've just given up, really. So I'd rather just spam some stuff out that works for me. Maybe I'll show it around. If it works for you, copy and paste it into your nearest code editor, muck around with it, and use it. But I'm not going to help you. No, I will help you. I'm not going to like update this library that suits your use case that says, no, I like to use IDs, UIDs plus the string name in my URLs. I'm like, dude, I just use IDs. Don't give me that. I want to hear about it.
Oh.
Make your fork, do your own thing.
So this is an invite to submit some pull requests.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, actually. You somehow took everything I said down. Did that. Okay, yeah, that's all. I hope there were some nuggets in there. Setting up this test application with Laravel 5 was incredibly easy. I just Bernard was telling us about migration and stuff. Like, I'm just spamming this, checking my database. I've also got Faker giving me fake data, which is another library of 3,000 libraries, and that's fun. That's all I got. So, thanks for that. If you're using JavaScript and you're like really irritated and worried, why does my code not look as awesome as my PHP? It's because they're these prototype things and you just got to start using them, even though they are horrible. I mean, for example, you don't inherit before you start defining prototypes. Your prototypes will just override everything. So don't do that. Be cool, don't be a Steve. Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
I grabbed that dongle.
Yes. See, because it doesn't prompt me.
Hi everyone. Okay. It's good to see that the user group is growing. It's awesome. I hope there's a couple of people joining us online as well. Hi people online. We have beer here, so that will be a reason to come in physical. Guys, have beer while I get up and running.
Tell me about beer.
So anybody who wants to get beer quickly?
And everybody free and in here.
Just working on
I didn't go anywhere, I was just standing here the whole time, so... Beer.
Oh dear. Dear beer.
Thanks, no, maybe back then. Anders, op die video's.
Okay.
It has to be.
That's why I grabbed one, just in there in case I need something. So talking and drinking. That's like, you don't do that at big conferences. Hi everyone. So here's the developer here. I'm just kidding. So I've been wanting to do this talk for a very long time because I feel that there's a lot of talks, like very technical talks on how to become a good developer, and very few things about what a good lifestyle is to have to become a good developer, right? And good habits and practices that you do in your own capacity to just more productive as a person. Before I get into the talk, maybe introduce myself. I'm Martin Cronje, my Twitter handle is over there. I need to start the timer as well. And I guess half of the time I'm writing code for products. Either I build products for people or I build my own products. And none of them are successful yet. Still have to work for a living. Damn. And also coach teams, like the Everything team, work with teams to be more effective in software development. And that's actually the bread and butter stuff every day. So when I start, this is not me, even though it does look like a little bit like me. Every time I see this, it's like, whoa. But why this talk? So I was chatting to a developer. We do a lot of our development remotely, and I was chatting to this dev in Durban. You may be logged in.
And I asked him, it must be awesome living in Durban, so you can like go and surf every day after you've like coded. He says yes, he surfs for hours every day. He closes and he opens up Reddit and he sits there for hours. Reddit. It's like, but the ocean is out there. I said, well, what else do you do other than like surfing Reddit? And then he plays games and he reads blogs. And it's like, well, do you do anything other than computer? And he says, well, no, just computer. That's all I do. So it got me thinking, this was nearly a year ago, and it really got me thinking. It's like, shit, there's something wrong. There's this thing that developers think we need to like code the whole time to be really hardcore. And I found personally that there's more to it. There's more to being a good developer. You can actually go out there and have a good life and like at least be reasonably okay as a developer. So I want to talk to you about advice that we get as developers throughout our careers and what my view is on some of that advice, and then I'll share some advice or tips or whatever you want to call it that I think could help you, right? So the first set of advice is stuff that companies tell us at interviews, right? Things that they sort of say, ooh, this will make you a good worker. And actually all of that is bullshit because it just makes you a cheaper developer for them, right? It's things like, being that rockstar ninja dude that does that does backflips, and that's really amazing. All that really does is it just actually makes the problems of them being ninjas and rockstars worse, right? Things like they say, oh, we need passionate people because they know passionate people will work for nothing. I think it's important to be passionate and care about software development, but it shouldn't be in a fucking job spec, right? Or going the extra mile and working long hours and catching drop balls and taking ownership and being a team player and all of those things that make you a good person in a big corporate. And yeah, I think these things are good. It's important to take ownership. It's important to make sure that the team doesn't drop balls and all of those things. But it shouldn't be the fundamental measure of you being a good developer, right? I think it's not bad advice. I lived by this, like as the definition of a good developer, and I ended up working 90 hours, 90-hour weeks, and that's what I ended up looking like, right? I was 50 kilograms overweight. So I think it's a pretty shit idea to just like be a slave. Okay? So yeah, I don't think I want to be like that again. So let's get into some more positive stuff. So what is common good advice? Who can tell me what this galaxy is? Come on, anyone? It's on the cover of a very important book.
It's the round galaxy.
The round galaxy. What's the sombrero galaxy? And it's on the front of the Clean Code book. Who's read Clean Code here?
That's watching the videos count.
Watching the videos do count, yes. But it's the first video, he covers that in. So, maybe you need to watch it again. So, some good advice is, things like improving yourself, understanding the fundamentals, favoring fundamentals over technology is very important. Like things like object orientation, truly understanding that, as opposed to the latest, makes you better developer. Don't be a fad or a fanboy. Don't run after these fads or get too stuck into a certain way of doing things, because that just limits you ultimately. So those are common things that people talk about. Things like being a polyglot. It's good advice. Learning how to program in multiple platforms. It's a really, really good thing. And I think one of the biggest things is learning test-driven development. Test-driven development has actually got very little to do with the development and very little to do about testing. It's got everything to do with specifications and just how we approach our development lifecycle. So these are things that will make you better. Being a professional, reading books like Pragmatic Programmer, being a software craftsman, and understanding what it means, and reading books like Clean Code, and applying techniques like Pomodoro, these things will make you better. And the internet is filled with this advice. It's all over. Just search like tips for a good developer. Funny thing is, if you search tips for being a good developer, you actually get some really bad advice. If you search something else like what makes a good developer, suddenly all those search results is actually good information. Like tips for being a good developer ends up being all this crap, this corporate crappies, which is weird. So, and participating in the community, coming to things like this, contributing to open source, submitting a pull request on your least favorite or most favorite library. Reading other people's code, understanding how they thought about the problem. Reading blogs and books and casts, or listening to casts and watching casts. Those are good things. It will make you a stronger developer. I try to spend at least an hour, or let's say about 3 hours a week, at least watching videos. I find that's the best way for me to consume information. And attending events like this, and conferences, and attending other people's events. Like I went to the Ruby Fusa conference quite recently, and it was like a complete eye-opener. It was really cool. And there's some Ruby guys here, which I also think is quite cool. I'm not a PHP guy, so that's actually also quite cool. So those are things, you know, you can go and search the internet, you'll find out, well, you'll come across a whole bunch of stuff. Jeff Atwood published a bunch of, like a big article with a list of tips. There's a book called 97 Tips for Good Programmers, Pragmatic Programming. The internet is full of those things. So then there's a set of things that I think, cognitive tools that you can apply to make you a better person or better developer, that I feel that I've applied for myself and make me better. The first thing is the simplest solution. I want to share a story. I was chatting to a developer that works for a bigger company, and he was telling me about this self-healing software architecture with software factories and everything like auto-generates, and it's amazing for 150 users, okay, potentially, if everything is maxed out. So I said to him, like, why don't you guys not use Rails? It's like a blank face. Then I realized if they used the Rails or Laravel or whatever, pragmatic, it solves a problem. Then they would have, like, the project would have been over in a week and like go on, and they wouldn't make the money. So sometimes you may find yourself in a company that doesn't encourage you to do the best or simplest solution, but still try and break free from those things. Also, only solve the problem that you understand right now. Then my favorite topic is, who's heard of the imposter syndrome? Yeah, a bunch of you. Who thinks that you're a subject of that? That is a well, sort of a catch-22, because by saying you're a subject of it implies that you're not an imposter, or maybe you are. I don't know. So the one thing I can share with you is, like, when I was like younger, like 10 years younger or whatever, I used to like beat myself down and say, I'm a crap developer, I can do better. And like I would wake up in the morning and it's like, I'm a crap developer. And that used to be the feel of my energy. It made me depressed and it wasn't nice. And like I understand when people say this imposter syndrome thing, you can see it in some developers, they just beat themselves down. And they use that as energy. I used it as energy. And then I came across something else called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Who's heard of that? Dunning-Kruger effect. His name is Charles Kruger, that's why. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is people without ability overvalues their ability. People with ability tends to undervalue their ability. If you join that with the imposter syndrome, you start getting some interesting mind games, right? But think about it. Like people that overvalue their ability will, or that don't have ability, will end up like thinking they're amazing, and then they will get all the big salaries, right? You know, there's people that run countries and companies. That's interesting. And you know, the best example for me in one of the books I've quite recently read, This Will Make You Smarter, which is quite funny because it's actually quite a cool book. And it's not funny because it's called Will Make You Smarter. But anyway, so one of the interesting things that I said in there is, like, why is global warming such a big problem? It's because the people that says global warming doesn't exist said with a lot of fervor and certainty, like, global warming isn't a thing. And the scientists who's like, well, global warming is a real problem. Like, well, our data indicates that it's a big problem. So some people that apply the scientific method will always appear to be uncertain. It's like media says, no, these people clearly don't know what they're talking about. They can't even make their minds up. And then other people speak with certainty. This is the way it is. And that is the Dunning-Kruger effect for me, like personified in the way, you know, humanity works and everything. So that can then leave you with one thing, right? You can't sit here and say, well, I'm crap or I'm good. Just apply something simple, and there's solace in that. And apply the Copernican principle. Who's heard of that? So look, we're not the center of the universe. And if you apply it to yourself, it also means that you're not the center of your own universe. But what it also means is you're not below average, you're not above average, you're just average. And if you work on that premise, that you're not the best developer, or you're not the worst developer, you can sort of start finding a lot of zen in that. And I think that big things for me quite a lot. And what it also allows you to do is to decouple money from what you value yourself as, right? So, I saw a tweet the other day, and I'm not going to say who tweeted it, because I was appalled by some really lowly junior developer that was earning like 2 million rand a year, and I was like saying, good for him. Like, have that developer earn 2 million rand a year. So decouple what you perceive as your value that you bring to society as a developer from what you perceive your value, your ability to be, right? I think that's for me very, very important. So one of the other things is, as a cognitive tool, is to experiment with new languages, experiment with new techniques, just find different ways of doing things. And tying into that is to challenge your beliefs. Like, I firmly believe that TDD is the way to do things. That gives me, by that merit, I should challenge my beliefs and say, well, it isn't the best way of doing things. I stole that from Dave Thomas, actually, because he sort of said that in a Ruby Rogues podcast, very good podcast. So, just challenge your beliefs. Whatever you take for granted, or whatever you assume is the right way, just take a moment and say, well, maybe that isn't the right way. Like the Mac versus PC debate is a good example. Well, a lot of people that say Mac sucks or PC sucks, have you actually heard it from the other one? Do you know why it's good? Do you know why it sucks? Or just stirring a bit here, Linux, yeah, whatever. Stirring, but like the whole Ruby versus PHP debate, it's two Ruby programs, so I'm going to have to dodge it. Like, how can you truly say one is better than the other if you haven't actually experimented with both and formed an opinion? All programming languages have crap in it and good in it. I don't like the dollar size of PHP, I have to admit. Oh no. I actually had Kevin threw his quote on here, I'll just post it. So hold strong opinions weekly, that's something that Kevin said. And I've actually seen this being quoted quite a lot in talks. Like, have strong opinions about things, have a position, allow yourself to be changed in it. Like, get into debates, have fights about it, and then eventually let it go if you disprove it. So, like, I think a lot of people are really good at it. This for me is a value that I strive to, and sometimes I fail as well. So these are cognitive tools that I think will make you stronger. But let's talk about something different. Things outside of like intellectual stuff and how hard we work and how we behave as professionals that could make us more productive. So for me, one of the first things is to have a set of personal values that you live to. My number one value is to have fun. I have a cheat sheet here, but it didn't come up, so I'm forced to. You can remember all my values. So, so I'm going to remember them in like random order. One of the other ones is to contribute to the community, right? To contribute to this community. I'm not into the grassroots development stuff. I haven't gotten there yet in my personal development. To also be honest to myself and to my clients. Like, if I feel that I'm not bringing value to my clients, those are then walk away, right? So these are values that I live to. And having fun and having a balanced lifestyle is number one on that. Like, I burnt out, I was 150 kilograms. Like, what the fuck? Don't allow yourself to get into that space. And one of the other things that's a bit of a funny turn now is developers are really, really crap graphic designers. We're really, really crap at form and function. Yet that is the most important thing about our software. Like, Windows 95 was the single most successful piece of software in our industry ever, and it was because it was easy to use.
And right? Mostly the only one.
Mostly the only one.
Unless you could Linux.
Oh yeah, unless you could do Linux, yeah. So the thing was that it was technically an abortion. Right? It was terrible. Like, now that I'm not a Windows fanboy anymore, like, I can tell you that like Windows really, really sucks. It doesn't have Bash. I said it on video. Oh my! You're never going to speak a tech again. So we as developers really need to understand how people are going to use our software. It is fundamentally important. It's more important than all of the other stuff.
User experience.
User experience. If you don't talk to your customer, say, "Oh, I'm a developer, I don't have human skills," that's actually just a cop-out. Right? Can speak to people, understand how they want to use the software. And teach people. So take time and learn from people. Or to teach people, and you'll find that you learn in return. And part of that is learn how to listen. Like, I still really, really suck at listening. But I'm a lot better than what I was 10 years ago. And I'm even better than what I was 10 years before that.
Most people aren't listening, they're practicing their reply. So
Practicing their reply.
Yeah,
And then I say, "Oh wait, I'm practicing my reply. Oh no, wait. Reply inception." Practicing our reply. Or you hear what you want to hear. Just listen to what the people are trying to say, what message they're trying to convey to you. It's not that easy. These things takes people years and years and years. And for some people, not me, it comes a lot more natural than others. Also know how to present yourself. Know how to like Mr. Chinos over here. It's always teasing him about Mr. Chinos, a company that wears slops and shorts. But that's a good thing, right? You're presentable. You can go and stand in front of a sales meeting and people are like, "Ooh." But it's more than that. It's just being able to communicate yourself. And part of that is the way you sort of dress and stuff. Like bath. At least. Also, speaking in the community, right? And that ties in for me, being able to present yourself, being able to articulate yourself. Like speaking in front of an audience is something you have to learn. It's a skill that most people have to acquire. Like when I wanted to be like Martin Fowler, like when I was starting out in the industry, "Oh, Martin Fowler, Mr. Martin Fowler, I want to be like Martin Fowler." But to be like Martin Fowler, I need to speak at the conference. And like Rob McLean and all these people like would go to these like 3 sessions where you like speak for Microsoft to like get into tech. Like they all got into tech at the first try, and the second try I was like still sitting there. Like, maybe I can't speak. But it's something that you have to learn. It's a skill that you have to acquire. Like, I'm an introvert, right? Like speak to me one-on-one, and I'll sort of like stand there and like, I don't really know what to say. So here I'm just rambling to people, and I can make people laugh easily or something. The other thing is to work less, right? A lot less than what you think. And even so, like I think the week that I've worked the most hours ever was about 110 hours. I had a car accident that week. Was the 2004 national provincial elections. I didn't like just car parking, reversed into another car. Actually went cycling the other day, and it's like, "Dude, you look familiar." It's like, "Yeah, you look familiar too. You're the guy that drove into my car." It's like, well, 20 years later, 10 years later. So, at work less. And I don't mean like work 8 hours a week. I'm working about 32 hours a week now. Well, at least I'm billing about 24 hours a week. And my focus is, like the first thing I said to my business partner when I came back, is like, I need to book my trips for August, and I need to like, say, "But what about work?" So we'll get to that. I just first need to book my August trips and everything, and then we'll talk about work. And that's a change that happened with me, at least, about 5 years ago. There's a whole bunch of events that led up to it. I burnt out. A friend of mine passed away, and he was a workaholic as well. And I just said, I have to change, and start losing weight and getting fit and all of those things. So work less, right? And like, who loves programming here? It's okay not to love it, right? The fact that you're here probably means you care a little bit. Save, right? Don't sit and work. If you're going to sit in front of the computer for a lot of hours, spend as little of that in the office. Right? Because all you're doing is you're just doing repetitive work the whole time, and you're not growing yourself as a developer. Go and do other shit, right? Outside of what you're working on, different languages, different platforms. Just get out of that sort of like rut. So spend less time at the office, build stuff in your spare time. Treat your weekends as sacred though. Or choose some time in your week or in your month that is completely sacred, where you don't even touch your computer. Like, just so that you can disconnect. You just
So you say passionate in a job description. Like, who actually knows where the word passionate, what it actually really means? It means to die for something. Like, would you die for your code that you write to your employer?
Or not passion.
Like
Passion. Like passion.
Spaces, I will die for spaces.
So, I mean, that's a very steep point, right? Passion means you're willing to die for it. You're willing to sacrifice your life for it. That's hectic, right? I don't really want to. The older I get, the more I want to do other stuff. I cycled there, right, on my mountain bike. How cool is that? I was shit scared. As Sonny to see. All these photos are from Sonny to see. These are not my photos. I took it from the Sonny to see feed. If they ever see it, I'm sorry. I'm trying to sell it to developers. So, I mean, that's awesome, right? I was scared. Like going there, I thought I was going to die, but it's cool. You know, that gets you up in the morning. So, choose some sacred time. Yeah, 3-day thing, like awesome, like camaraderie, you're tired. Find something other than chess or computer games or blogs or stuff that is technical and requires your brain. So I said to a guy many years back, I mean, like, this was about 2006, and he was about 10 years older than me, and I only like now understand what he meant. I said, but I go home and I play guitar. And it's like, no, that still requires your mind. In fact, it's very close to programming. And he was right. For me, I realized that doing something else where you can just go into like a complete meditative state, where you can just disengage your brain, opened up like new pathways. It helped me to just like process things a lot better. It created space, slack, essentially, for my brain to work better and more.
So you say using a different part of your brain, basically, whereas math and programming and guitar uses.
It just exercises the same muscle, right? The whole time. Well, the brain isn't really a muscle.
You're talking about physical stuff.
It doesn't have to be physical, right? As long as it could be cooking, it could be flipping, going to church. I really don't know what like floats your boat, but just do it. Meditating. Like I know people that go to those Vishvana things. I still want to do that. Really, like for 2 weeks, just meditating, like eat veggies. That's typical. So you go eat detox. But just do something other than like engaging that same part of your brain. Right? You're gonna do this if you really care about programming. You're probably gonna do this for the rest of your life. Just think about that. So,
can I ask how much has fitness played a part in that for you?
a lot.
Like,
Yeah. So, for just touching on that, I don't wake up tired anymore because of it. Like I can feel when I'm tired, my brain isn't working, and I realize that my brain was like that all the time when I wasn't fit and when I wasn't like when I was working weekends and everything.
So do you feel like you code better because you're fitter?
And I feel that I make better decisions. But I'm not sure if I'm a better coder. Like
Maybe all the fitness turned your Dunning-Kruger effect into like overdrive.
I don't know. Whatever. Like I looked at the title of the stuff and I thought, well, this is quite self-serving. But how else do I get the message across? You know. So what I do know is my life is a hell of a lot better than what it was 5 years ago. Like 5 years ago, I was only coding C#. I haven't touched C# in 3 years. Like I'm like getting to the Ruby guys, I'm a complete noob. Getting to the PHP guys, I'm a complete noob, and that's great. It's just also different experiences. That's cool. It's okay.
well, we found we've got at our company we've got a squash group. So twice a week we'll go play squash in the mornings, and I've actually found that I've got a lot more energy during the week from just playing squash twice a week. Play at 5 in the morning. 6 in the morning. Yeah, about
So yeah, I'm not saying go out there and get fit, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff. the way you participate in the community, speaking at events like this, putting yourself out there, you're also getting feedback and validation, right, of where you are in your personal development. It takes a lot for people to go out there. I put this sticker on my laptop of this girl that's from GitHub that speaks at conferences. And like she was scared shitless, like doing that talk. But there was like so much like respect in that. And I was like, you go girl, you know, like, that was really, really cool. All the conditions that led to her being put there is another reason I have that on there. If you see all the stuff that happened to GitHub a couple of years ago. So I guess just like programming is like, especially if you really care a lot about programming, you shouldn't just do that. There's more to life than that. And allowing yourself some space in which you maneuver also just frees up your brain. Like I have epiphanies about life and things when I do other stuff, not programming. So I'll leave it at that. Cool. Thank you very much, everyone. It's only like half an hour.
You can carry on about science.
Yeah. How cool is these photos? That's like the Nkomas Valley.
So it's 3 days.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad you didn't do it the other way around, though? I'm sorry.
That was gonna be my next question.
So we go down here and you have to go up there.
So how many downhills versus uphills?
This day I had 2 kilometers of climbing.
So are you going to do Joburg to see next week?
I did the soccer race this weekend, and I was a bit put off about from mountain bike. When I woke up today, I was like, maybe, yeah. But this isn't about fitness. I think some things that really helped me is like the list of values. I just want to get that list of values open for you guys. So I don't have to work for. So having a balanced lifestyle, right? Just eat healthy. Fuck, will make you feel good.
Not Burger King.
Well, like my day here at the I think once every 2 weeks is my Burger King day. So nurture your passion, right? Do what you believe in. Do what you believe in and practice what you preach, right? Like, what I mean by nurture your passion, don't sit in some fucking dreary job in some big fucking corporate, sitting there hating all the other developers who don't care about their jobs. Quit that job and find a job at companies where people care. Even if it means you're going to earn less, in the long run, you'll probably earn more. Okay. We're not slaves or resources as these people label us. You know, every single person is important, and trust people around you. Trust. This is really hard. You know, it's our company at least, or our group of people that work together. We don't really a company. Is that our views of the world is a combination of everyone's views, and so learn that and strive for like pragmatism and being excellent at what you do. Continuously learn, keep yourself honest. I don't do things run after the money the whole time. Then you just end up like all the other people. Like, sorry?
More money? You're running after the money.
So a lot of companies don't sell value. A lot of companies sell hours. They sell their people, and that's where. And they don't care whether or not they actually deliver, as long as the customer still signs a renewal on the contract. You don't want to be in that position.
What about a good night's sleep?
Someone said that on Twitter, a good night's sleep. So there's some context around this. Like, I really want to develop this talk over a couple of years and like work all of these things in. So I went out and I asked people in the industry at conferences, I held whole conversations at Ruby Fusion. Just ask people in the industry, what is good advice? What makes you a good developer? And that stuff that I had under common advice, each and every single one of those things were what people said what makes them a good developer. And very few things under the cognitive tools and almost nothing on the multicolored images came through. Good night's sleep would probably be in here as well. Just, well, having balance. And also mentoring people, right? Like the other day, I was sitting with a developer that's got 2 years experience. I was talking to him and he made some decisions and I was like, yeah, I've got 2 years experience. What a user. And then I stopped and this guy actually said something really, really profound. And if I wasn't mentoring him and coaching him, I wouldn't have gotten that feedback. So sometimes you also have to get over yourself. Yeah. Cool. What else? I don't know.
I remember say I also now started to force myself to do the whole Pomodoro technique, and I actually got myself as well, because you spend like 3 hours looking for a nice app, and that actually just puts off the work as well. But I got one actually on my phone, which for Android is called Pomodoro Challenger, and it's very simple, and you just do those timings and those breaks in between.
Yeah.
Just to refresh your mind again. It's really nice.
So with the Pomodoro and getting things done, there's a very good talk. Have you guys watched the talk, Developers of Divas? Stephen McDonald referred to me on Twitter, and it's Hadi Harari from JetBrains, Ruby, Mine, and PHP Storm, and Resharper, and all those tools, TeamCity. And he talks about these tools. And one of the things that we do as developers is we lose sight as to why these tools are there, why we need to apply these tools. Like Pomodoro technique. I'm not using you as an example now, but people can jump on the back. We need to use Pomodoro, we need to use, I'm using Pomodoro, you're using Pomodoro, we're all using Pomodoro. We're all happy, but why? So that's just about being productive, managing your time allocation. Yeah, I really struggle with it. I turn the timer, and then I actually bought a proper timer that like rings, and then 4 hours later it's like, I didn't hear it ring. And I'm like, legs are tired. Funny enough, what works is my watch, my new watch vibrates if I've been sitting for too long, which is cool. And then I just tap it and I go, I'm going. So what else? I sound quite negative about big corporates. There are companies, big companies that look after their people, like really big companies.
Can you name one?
Intellect is an example.
Who?
Intellect. Yeah, we do a lot of work for them or with them. They're our client, we're their client. So there is a relationship, but they do actually really try to do good stuff for their people. So, yeah, at least I've got a very positive perception about them. I know some people don't, but there will always be people that have positive and negative perceptions. Like BB&D, for example, really try very, very hard to look after the people. Sometimes, you have good clients and you have bad clients as well. So I think one of the things with the bigger the company is, the more likely it is that the company is going to be inefficient. There's mountains of books written on this stuff. So
the quotas over 35 or something.
Yeah, there's that.
Things start getting shakier.
Yeah, I think it's Dunbar's number is the one, and then the next one is the tipping point, which is around 50 people. And one of the smaller numbers is around 7 people. So if a dev team is bigger than 7 people, we're probably going to start losing productivity as opposed to gain. So, yeah. Any questions or stuff that you want to share? This was supposed to be like very collaborative, like interactive.
Don't you think all of this is really sort of like a cycle that everyone has to go through? Like, isn't there a time when you just actually have to work 120-hour weeks? And this position which you arrive at is like a privilege that you have now to reflect back and say, well, it's great, and I'm glad I never have to go through that again, being either a med student or a programmer or I don't know, an apprentice blacksmith.
Yeah, so we brought two younger guys into our company, and we had that conversation. We like said, well, we want you guys to avoid go through all this pain. And then they sort of like made the observation, but in the same way, going through all that pain is what gives you the experience. Like seeing how people do things time and time wrong. But maybe, I don't know, I really don't know what the answer is. Maybe if we all try to do things right, there's a whole bunch of lessons that emerge out of that,
I don't know.
Maybe it's this way, like you can either go through that experience once or over and over and over
Yeah,
and over again without cycle breaking.
Yeah, you might not do it.
yeah, if you don't grow, then I suppose there is a risk.
But also, why would you want to shoot lights? You could just so good fun.
Awesome. And also I didn't enjoy it. I don't know.
The base jumper in the corner.
Yeah, like the epitome of an example is, when Uncle Bob talks about the company killed by code, and having been in that painful experiences and the places where systems are being rewritten, like 150-person teams and being just a cog in the whole thing. Yeah, I guess that's how I met my wife. So that's really cool that came out of that. And I got a lot of experience. That's really cool. It makes the CV look good. Got a lot of experience. I can coach people not to have the same shitty experiences. That's good. But yeah, I guess that's for you to decide. But maybe it can be a cognitive thing, like signing up for working at a big international consulting company. You know it's going to be sweating bullets. You know, I'm doing this for my freaking trial. Trial by fire. It will make me like next level developer. I don't know. Maybe. Or you can just have fun.
I don't know. Look, I mean, I'm playing on both sides of the argument. So yeah, I like to ride a bicycle from Sani to sea, but I've also been through a lot of hard work, and I wouldn't go to a 20-year-old or 21-year-old and say to them, "No, dude, just chill. It'll just all come to you." Like do some exercise, come back, and you're gonna learn all of these things.
Yeah.
I don't know. As you might have noticed, I'm a bit of an ass. So
So then you would go to the 20-year-old.
no, I feel like, dude, you absolutely know nothing right now. Please, for my sake and for your own sake,
Work as hard as you
work as hard as you possibly can.
So,
for as long as you can.
Yeah, I promised myself I won't go there in this talk, but maybe I will. So in '99, when I started working professionally, our company was there in Pinmore Farm in Sandton, and did a really, really cool bar. I actually have photos, but then you have to see all those other photos.
Please not.
We don't want to see the photo again.
And we used to have really cool parties in that company. And it was really, really awesome working there. The company was Vercom and Logical later on. A lot of those people are left the country now. It's quite sad. All my mentors in the industry aren't really here anymore. And I met this guy, young. I was 19, he was 21, 22. I was 19 once. That's it. And we were really drunk and we were sitting on the barroom floor. And we said, one day we're going to take over the industry. We're going to be like the masters of the industry. We're going to be awesome. We're going to rule. Directors. We want to be directors. Oh. And he ended up being a director in a couple of years back. Got promoted. We used to have these big debates because, I was saying, dude, I decided when I got the opportunity to be a manager, I basically quit and went another path because I wanted to be there. I love coding, and we used to have these debates about corporates and all the whole thing, and developers, and, the whole battle. And he got to director, and he met a really cool girl, and then he died. An hijacking. And it's actually quite sad because his needs from life changed at this stage, and he was dude, we need to bring balance to our life. We need to bring balance to our life. So just don't be that guy, right? Either. So if anything good comes out of this talk, there's more to this industry. And don't spoil your skills that you have working for someone else. Go out there and go and build cool shit for yourself as well.
So basically work harder, not smarter, not harder.
Not even, enjoy your programming and don't do that 16 hours a day for a salary where you have to populate combo boxes. Go and do other cool stuff, learn new languages and play with new stuff, at least.
Just the word combo box brings me right back.
I don't think we really do that anymore, but you know, the imagery is there. Putting the input box and manually putting the data in and manually reading the data out. Remember those days? Well, I can tell you about the days we used to write our own DHB columns and our own Ajax stuff. It wasn't called Ajax then. It was just like, we're doing XHR requests to get data back from it. Like it was like ASP pages that just return CSV, and then you would just parse the CSV. REST. 99, we had REST. So, guys, like that was a bit of a morbid story, but the reality is, like, life also happens. So, find balance. Cool. Thanks. So let's gap year.
Right, so guys, I'm just going to reiterate a few things that Etienne said earlier. Apparently, they had some audio issues. So next week, JHB PHP are having their meetup. It's in Ravonia. It's not in more yet Flowcom offices, unfortunately. They're going to be talking about Ansible and then also Cause. And then in March, our next meetup is going to be around domain-driven design. So we're going to have Simon Stewart coming in. His examples are going to be in JavaScript, but the theory behind it is applicable to whatever you code in. And then also, just to make it a little Laravel specific, I'm going to give a little short tutorial on using Doctrine in Laravel. Cool. And then in April, we've got a Laravel workshop. It's going to be getting started with Laravel 5, and teach you the basics. And then the basics is going to be taught on the Friday evening. So you really don't need to come to the Friday evening if you don't want to. It's just going to give you a small intro into Laravel. And then on the Saturday, we're going to talk about the features that were introduced into Laravel 5. After that, which you're more than welcome to join us for the hackathon, we're going to be building a project for, I think it's St. John's Eye Clinic at Borough. Yeah, Martin's actually going to say a little few words about it just now. But it's for a good cause. Even if you come through and you just give your ideas, we need as many people as possible to just contribute. And that's about it. We're also, at the end, after Martin's talk, we're going to give a prize away. So don't go anywhere. Okay, Martin.
Cool. So this is going to be the really, really lively one, because a lot of you have heard this already. But a friend of mine's a doctor, and at the Borough Eye Hospital, which is called St. John's, and their patient management thing consists of far too many people come for them to ever operate on. So they write them all in a book, and then basically the people who bother them the most get operated on. Many patients come like 6 times. Can I get operated on today? No, go home, come back. That's taxi, that's waiting in Borough queues which aren't fine, etc. And the other thing is all the admin is being done by people who are doctors, who could be doing a lot more with every minute they spend going through books and finding names and wasting their time. So the idea is to put together a nice Laravel system which has a concept of priority, and a concept of a booking. So you say, look, you will have your operation, then you come once. The person who most would benefit from an operation will get the operation first, and it really would improve quality of life. Now, there was some work done on it. It was my very first Laravel project, my very first MVC, my very first framework, and it kind of got into a mess. And it's now in Laravel 3, not even 4. So the idea is to have a reboot. Let's not try and morph what's there into something usable. We can maybe copy and paste bits when we get there, but let's start again and say, Laravel 5, let's design it properly, let's have proper kind of design principles, not have the views doing a whole bunch of logic, which embarrassingly they are at the moment. So just kind of do it right. And so that's why it's dovetailed onto the workshop. So the idea is let's learn about level 5, and then out of that, let's have a few concept user stories we want to tackle in the workshop to say, we want this feature, let's start at the beginning. How would you design it properly? How would you do it properly? How would you make clean code? Maybe even put some tests in while we're doing it, or before we start doing it. Before I get cleared. So yeah, that's basically what that is. And it is an open source project, no one's getting paid to do this. It's on GitHub. We'll, I guess, put the link up.
So Scala, how long has this project been running?
So it first started about a year ago, and I put in a flurry of work, and then kind of I got busy, and the code got messy, and it kind of stalled.
Yeah, I've got a personal project in there like 2 years now, and just refactor every 6 months. New framework. So I know what you need.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking this might be worth finding someone and paying them a retainer to just get work done on it. So that might be an option.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. So 17th of April. Please RSVP. Please close the week before, just so we know how many people are coming, what we need to prepare for. Really, if you have no experience with Laravel, you're more than welcome to come. You do need some experience with PHP. This is not a PHP course, unfortunately. Or fortunately for the Ruby guys and the course. So yeah, please come and contribute to a project that's really going to go a long way. Cool. Thanks a lot for coming, guys.